Good morning for those of you who are not with us today. Today is Unit 1, Day 9. We're working on our draft. And in class, we will be doing three things. We'll be discussing plagiarism for academic notes, looking at some sample observation essays, but most of the time will be to give you time to work on your actual draft. So for the next about 10 slides in this PowerPoint, I have a lot of resources that go over plagiarism, what it is, what the SLIC rules are, why plagiarism is important, how it relates to life beyond college. And anyway, so there's just lots of different resources here. So I'm just going to quickly cover each one. I'd like you to slow down and read the text. This one kind of brings up why many good students find themselves borderline or guilty of plagiarism. And a lot of it, I feel, has to do with our cutthroat society and this expectation that we always have to have straight A's. That's just unrealistic. I feel like every good student needs an A minus for that reason, that it's not some number that we're striving for. We're trying to become more educated adults and learn from our mistakes. So with that in mind, just kind of look at some of these slides that I'm putting up. This one goes over some famous people who have gotten into trouble with cheating for colleges. Many of them are the parents who are trying to get their kids into prestigious schools through money or other avenues that have ended up prison time for the parents. So it's a serious issue that goes beyond our English class. Why is it so important? This is a link to a podcast. It's only 5 minutes long, but it talks about how students cheat their way, sometimes not even realizing what they're doing. In class, I talk about unintentional plagiarism versus plagiarism, and I'll try to cover that when we get through a few more of these slides. This slide covers how SLIC approaches plagiarism or academic dishonesty. Just know in some universities, they expel you from the school. SLIC rule is the students will get a 0 with no chance of making it up. So here are three characteristics, if you will, that I put in blue of ways that we should act whenever we are doing work for their campus. The Turnitin website has a quiz. It's kind of a self quiz that you can walk through. It shows you a bunch of different scenarios. Is something plagiarized or not? And we'll do a couple in class, not all of them, but click on that link. It will take you to the quiz, and you can spend as much time on it as you want. The next one, why in the world is there such a stance about plagiarism in academics? There are different forms of plagiarism. Sometimes we paraphrase something that has too many words that are closely related to the original. Sometimes we don't put the quotation marks around it. Sometimes we cite things incorrectly. All of them actually constitute plagiarism. If you will click on this link, it goes through each of the bullet point phrases and explains them in more detail. Finally, part of the problem is education itself. I know in elementary school, teachers will have their students use resources or books and have them write so-called reports, and there's no pushback on copying words from books. If it's printed or the penmanship's right, a lot of times it ends up on a bulletin board. So it starts early in elementary school. It then we find ourselves in pressure situations where we don't have time to think of crafting the words our own way. I always tell students, if you want to avoid plagiarism, get your drafts done early. Just make it a conscientious effort. Just know I will call you on it if it shows up in our UniCheck system. And if it's a 3 or 4 word phrase that's not unique, of course, I'm not going to get after you. But if you just have an extensively copied paper, of course, you'll end up with a 0 for the paper. So don't do it. All right, the second part of class, we are looking at some samples in your unit booklet. Remember, your unit booklet is the stapled version, and it looks like this. But anyway, towards the back, I have, with their permission, used 6 previous students' essays to give you guys a feel for what a student can do with observation. Now, you've looked at some professional models, and none of us are professionals, but these are some really good essays that have been written in the last couple of years by some of my former students. And so pick some and use the rubric to grade one, just get a feel for what you need to do to get a good grade on this paper. In class, we read We're All Fish in a Tank Together. Some of the others there's all sorts of good ones with different types of voices. Tainted Love is about a roller skating rink locally here in the South Jordan area. Glimpse Behind Bars is prison system. So there's just a lot of different options that you have to look at. And one of my favorite ones is The Second Chances, which is about inside a car and where the car goes, or inside an old truck and where the old truck has been. So use those as resources. Finally, my hope is that each class will have about 50 minutes to work on their draft. And remember, during class today, if you haven't, during this lab time, you need to turn in your reading observation handout for credit. I want you to share your introduction don't share it, but have it printed, your introduction with me, so I can give you some specific feedback on it. And you will be using this time to work on your draft. If any time you use some sort of a source, like if you got a pamphlet wherever you went and you need to give credit or weave some sort of a detail that comes from another resource about your place, make sure that you cite it correctly. These 2 links will take you to a couple of citation guides that will help you cite things correctly. If you don't know how to cite something before your major paper is due, I've got this on my desk that will give you the latest MLA 9.0 version of citing. So between now and Monday, when I see you again, make sure that you have a really good draft written. It is such a waste of your time and other students' time if you come to class with a haphazard draft. If it's horrible, how is our students going to give you any hope of what to do with it? So work really hard between now and Monday. Spend lots of hours on your draft so that when you come to class, it's quality, and then your classmates can help you fine-tune it. So that will be our class on Monday. One other things, make sure that those of you who are signing up for conferences, that you come in and take care of them on your assigned time. So that's all for today, and we'll see you next time on Monday with a really good rough draft. Thank you.